folks, Free Play Frank. Well, it's happy Thanksgiving to all my Canadian viewers. It's Thanksgiving in Canada this weekend. And tonight I'm going to be showing you guys how to install electric fence for goats or other animals. And then later I'm going to play another Canadian classic, Summer of '69 by Bryan Adams. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, I want to show you my electric fence setup that I put together for my goats here. And we've got the fence charger here. This is belonged to my neighbors. This is an old one from the 1970s. Still works. And what we ended up doing here was we pounded steel pipes and rods into the ground every 10 feet. And then we put this old plastic water line around it, and we just wrap the wires around that and keep pulling it tight all the way along. And we basically used up every piece of round metal I had to do this, and we tie these streamers on here so the goats see that, and people see it too, so nobody will step on this and get shocked. And it goes up and around, and then they're going to be able to eat all this nice blackberry stuff here, all this bush here, because this is my neighbor's property and he wants this all cleared out again. And then this is the ground rod here. You can see he just used a piece of rebar, and this is pounded down about 5 feet into the ground. And I welded a washer onto it, and this is just some more old cable that I had lying around. This is the ground. And what we ended up doing is the first time we tried it, it didn't work. So we're right next to this alder tree here. You can see a big alder tree here, and it's summer. So what I thought had happened was that the tree sucks all the moisture out of the ground, because I've dug out these stumps and it goes about a 20-foot circle 6 feet down. It's bone dry, because that's how much water these trees use up in the summertime. So what we did was we got this here is just a wire. This is old wire I had laying around, and it goes up and along here, and the green one is the extension cord along the fence. And then I ran another ground 20 feet away here. This is a piece of galvanized pipe, and this pounds down about same 4.5, 5 feet before I hit something solid and I can't pound it anymore. And that still didn't power it. So I added another piece of round stock, pounded down 4.5 feet, and this is the ground wire. It straps them all together. Alright, she's on now. Can you hear that snapping sound? And the problem why it wasn't grounding, you see these red handles here that attach the wires to the fence so that you can disconnect it and walk through? Well, they must be shorted inside, because I took them off and I just hung them in the open so they weren't touching anything and plugged it in, and it works. So what I ended up doing, simple fix, doesn't cost anything, I wrapped electrical tape around the fence where they connect to the fence. I'll probably put a piece of plastic, something more substantial, but this got it going. And this is a fence tester. This costs about 40 bucks and has a little probe here. You stick this in the ground, poke it down into the ground, and then you hook this hook onto the wire. You can see I can see it flashing. I don't know why the camera's not picking that up, but it is flashing all the way up to the 10,000 volt mark. And it is working, and if I touch the fence, I'm going to get one heck of a shock. See, the fence runs all the way along here. Poles are 10 feet apart. And you got to make sure when you put these up that you trim all the grass at the bottom, go along with a weed eater or with a scythe, cut out all the grass so nothing touches the fence, because that'll short it out. Okay, sorry, I meant to say ground it out. not shorted out. This is the end of the run, and I just tied off the plastic with this hay string here to hold it a little more stable, because there's big tree roots in here and I can't pound the rod down much, only about a foot. And I just wrapped the wire around and around, and then started to go back along for the bottom course. And that's all you have to do. Is, I'm going to put the goats in here right now, and we're going to see what happens when they touch the fence. What you're supposed to do when you first introduce goats to electric fence is you're supposed to put them in a small area, and I've seen other people on YouTube where they'll put a handful of food on the other side of the fence, so the goat will try to eat the food and then he'll get shocked. And that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is to just let them go in here, and hopefully they'll only touch the fence once, and then they'll know not to touch it again. So let's see how that works. Alright, Fluffy is the first volunteer to try grazing in the new area. Hopefully she won't touch the fence. Legs awful close to the fence there, Fluffy. You got one of her babies here eating in here. I don't know where the other one is, but I'm gonna go try and get the other goats to come in here. Here you go, Fluffy. See, Fluffy had some problem there with mastitis earlier this year, and gave her a round of antibiotics, and she was starting to put on some weight, but she wasn't really putting on much weight. She wasn't eating all that well. So I wormed her again after about 2 months, and that didn't really make much difference. So I wormed her a third time with a third wormer, and that made the difference. And now it's been about probably 2 weeks since her last treatment, and she's starting to put on weight again, and she's eating well. Her eyelids are pink again, starting to get pinker than they were anyways. It takes a while, like when they have a heavy parasite infestation, it takes probably a month for them to recover from it. But she's doing well. Her babies are both doing well. Alright, we got some more goats in here now. What the heck? Okay, how is it possible that they just got right through there? That makes sense to me. There's something wrong with that. Cannot figure out what it is. But it shows 10,000 volts on the fence, and I got a heck of a shock from it. So, do not know what's going on here. Okay, I figured out what the problem was. I had the ground wire connected to the fence, because that's what I was trying before. I did this with the tape around here, and you can hear that it's working now. If the goats aren't anywhere near, I got those 2 or 3 goats back in here, and oh, one's going for the fence. Let's see what happens. Trying to get a shot of what happens when they touch the fence so you guys can see. Oh, see, there you go. Fluffy, Fluffy, Fluffy. Oh, yeah, she got some shock. See? A little bit scared there. Okay, that's good. Okay, Ginger's baby, not you. Oh, yep, she got a little bit of a shock. Come on, Ginger's baby, get back in here. Okay, I might have to change the spacing on that a little bit. Alright, I went over there and chased Ginger's baby back through it, and she got a bit of a shock going through, so. And I figured out why it was kind of going dull is because you can see that it's actually arcing where this hook is hooked over that tape on the fence, and when she jumped over it kind of moved the piece off of that, so it was almost touching the fence. So that's where the problem is. It's to do with these handle things here. We're going to take them right off. Okay, it doesn't. You can hear the pulsing on the fence power machine when it's making a good connection. It makes a real hefty snap, and when it's dull, like it's a bad connection, then it's just a dull snap. So we check it again here with our fence tester. Okay, it is flashing. I do not know why the camera is not picking up the flashing, but it is flashing. I can see it. It's flashing all the way to the top to the 10,000 volt mark. So we're just going to keep an eye on them now, and I'll have to put a little bit better insulation on there on that hook so that if they do bump the fence they won't pull it loose. And then I'm going to have to maybe close up the distance, because it's possible for goats to actually slip through that, and they can jump over it too, so I might add a third course. We'll see how this goes. Well, Snowflake's heading towards it now. Don't touch it, Snowflake. See if Snowflake touches it. Yeah, I've already touched it by accident a couple of times, and I can tell you it's one heck of a jolt. So once they touch it once and get a good shock from it, they won't want to touch it again. So while we got Snowflake here in the right position, here's a good update on her mastitis. It's been like 4 months now, and when the teats get so long and so heavy that they drag on the ground and the babies can't nurse from them, they stop nursing from them. Then I got to get the milking machine and milk them out. I just did this, I think 3 days ago now, and babies are nursing on them still. They're 4 months old. It's getting time for the boys. Oh, how did she get through that without getting shocked? We're getting through here now. I'm going to fix that problem. Alright, I did some research here, and everybody says that when you run one of these kind of fences in a dry climate, you need to have 3 ground rods 10 feet apart and sledgehammered down into the ground 6 feet. Plus you got to use heavy ground cable. So here's my ground cable right here. It's a nice heavy aluminum cable. You can see how big it is compared to my finger. And it attaches to the existing ground rods that I had. And I also added a third course of wire because the goats were hopping over it. Now, when you put the fence tensor on the wire now, nice bright flashes. I can assure you, if this doesn't show up on the camera, that it is flashing all the way to the top to the 10,000 volt mark. And now if you look over here, I'll hold the little probe close to the wire. Where is it here? I want to show you that it's sparking. You can see it sparking like a spark plug. It's jumping about a there. It's jumping about a 1/4 inch gap now. So I would say that I got quite a lot more connection. And they look a lot brighter. You can see that 10,000. I see how much brighter the bulbs are flashing now than before. Now I'll show you the rods I put in the ground here. Ground wire goes along the top here. I made this up so that we could walk through and not tangle up on the wire. And it comes down. There's one of the ground rods there. And there's another one 10 feet or 12 feet down. I've got two. And with all the existing wires and grounds that I have, I'm going to try this. I have a third one. If I have to use it, I will. And I have enough wire here to connect another one. So now we're going to get the goats up here now and see how they do. These handles were still shorting to the fence, even with the little pieces of rubber and the tape. So I added this piece here with this continuous piece of hose. It's about 1.5 inches from the fence. Now it seems to be working better now. The goats don't seem to be getting through it as bad. Okay, the fence has been working great since I added that extra ground for about 4 days. And I come out today and I can hear it snapping especially loud. And this thing here that I put on the fence with the wire and this piece of rubber hose on it, these things are shorting through that thing to the fence. So I put my tester on and there was hardly any voltage on the fence. So I would have to recommend don't use those things unless you can figure out some way to insulate it where they connect, because if you insulate that to anything metal, even if you've got rubber on it or duct tape or any of that, it's not going to work. Eventually it's going to ground right out through that. But after I disconnect those, now I've got full voltage on the fence again, and none of the goats have been getting out. Once they get used to the fence, they get zapped with it a few times and they yell, and then the others hear them yell, and then sometimes they'll all run out of here together, and then they'll come back in slowly. And after a couple days, none of them are getting out. The last 3 days I've had them in here and none of them have gotten out. See, look, they don't like this fence. Once they get used to this fence, they get shocked a few times. They don't go near it, so you can see there's still 2 feet of relatively green grass close to the fence that they hardly touched. And I've already started to take the fence down. It had 3 strands on it because I'm going to move it to another area now. Well, I reworked the connection here. I got rid of those red things attached to the fence there, and I put a pole real close to the fence controller. And I have another pole 10 feet over here with those connectors on it, so now they can't touch anything that could ground them out, and it's working real good now. The goats aren't getting through it. They come within 1/4 inch and they get a zap and they don't go anywhere near it.
I got my first real 6 string, bought it at the 5 and dime. Waited till my fingers bled, was the summer of '69. Me and some guys from school had a band and we tried real hard. Jimmy quit, I had the choice, you know I'd always want to be there. Those were the best days of my life. Oh yeah. Ain't no use in complaining when you got a job to do. Spent my nights down at the drive-in, and that's when I met you, yeah. Standing on your mama's porch, you told me that you'd wait forever. Oh, and when you held my hand, I knew that it was now or never. Those were the best days of my life. Oh yeah, back in the summer of '69. We were killing time, we were young and restless, we needed to unwind. I guess nothing lasts forever, forever, no. Yeah. Listen, the times are changing, and everything that's come and gone. Sometimes when I see that old six string, you got you wondering what went wrong. Standing on your mama's porch, you told me that it lasts forever. Oh, and when I held your hand, I knew that it was now or never. Those were the best days of my life. Oh yeah, back in the summer of '69. Oh, summer of '69. Yeah, me and my baby in '69. Alright, there you have it, some Bryan Adams, summer of '69. Thanks guys for joining me tonight, and we'll see you all next time. Take care.